Hello everybody, today I can identify opposite and consecutive sides and angles and diagonals. This is a very short but very important lesson for what we're going to be doing next. If you don't understand this vocabulary, then you're going to have a very hard time with the quadrilateral properties, so that's why we're going to spend a few minutes right now and work on our vocabulary. So let's just start with what opposite and consecutive means. Consecutive means one after another. The opposite of consecutive is opposite. And opposite, in general, means across from. So if I'm talking about consecutive sides, I'm talking about consecutive sides that are one after another, sides that touch. Consecutive angles that are one after another. Opposite sides are sides that are across from each other. Opposite angles are angles that are across from each other. Diagonals are segments connecting opposite angles. So let's run through it. Name two pairs of opposite sides. So opposite sides are sides that do not touch. They are sides that are across from each other. So my opposite sides would be AB and CD. I don't need to say congruent. They are congruent, but let's not open that up. Let's just say AB and CD. And then another pair of opposite sides would be AD and BC. Both of those pairs are opposite sides because they are sides that are opposite from each other. They do not touch. Name four pairs of consecutive sides. So consecutive sides are sides that are one after another. They are sides that touch. So AD and AB. Would be a pair of consecutive sides. AB and BC would be a pair of consecutive sides. BC and CD would be a pair of consecutive sides, and CD and DA would be a pair of consecutive sides. Each pair of these sides touch each other. All right, consecutive sides physically touch, they meet. They are not across from each other, they are next to each other, they are touching. Opposite sides are not touching, consecutive sides are. Name two pairs of opposite angles. So opposite angles are angles that are opposite from each other, they're across from each other. So angle, I'm going to cheat a little bit here, but for the purposes of the objective of this lesson, I'm just going to cheat and write angle A, even though technically it's angle BAD. Angle A and angle C are opposite angles. And angle B and angle D are opposite angles. They are opposite because they are across from each other. They are not one after another. They're basically at opposite vertices. Name four pairs of consecutive angles. Well, angle A and angle D are consecutive angles. Angle D and angle C are consecutive angles. Angle C and angle B are consecutive angles. and angle B and angle A are consecutive angles. They're consecutive angles because they're one after another. They're not across from each other, they're next to each other. Consecutive is next to, opposite is across from. Name the two diagonals. Well, diagonals are line segments that connect opposite vertices. So, EB is one of the diagonals, and AC is the other. Diagonals are just the diagonal lines that connect the opposite vertices. And that's it. So again, my opposite sides were AB, CD, AD, BC. Those are the opposite sides because they're opposite each other. The consecutive sides, AD, AB, AB, BC, BC, CD, CD, DA, because they touch each other, each of those pairs. Consecutive sides touch. Opposite angles are angles that are across from each other. A and C are opposite angles. B and D are opposite angles. Consecutive angles are angles that touch. So A and D, D and C, C and B, B and A are consecutive angles. And diagonals are the diagonal lines that connect the vertices. AC is a diagonal, DB is a diagonal. So, number 2 is the same thing. I want you to try it on your own, so please pause, try it on your own, and then unpause. Okay, name two pairs of opposite sides, EBLU. DLEU. They are opposite sides because they do not touch. Name 4 pairs of consecutive sides. EBBL, they touch. BLLU, they touch. LUUE, they touch. And EUEB, they touch. Consecutive sides touch. Each of those pairs touches each other. They're next to each other. Opposite angles. E and L. And the other pair, B and U. They are across from each other. They are not one after another. Consecutive angles are angles that are one after another. E and B. B and L. L and U. U and E. They are consecutive because they are one after another. They're next to each other. They're not opposite each other. Name the two diagonals. Well, the diagonals are the diagonal lines connecting the opposite angles, connecting the opposite vertices. EL is a diagonal. BU is a diagonal. So practice this as much as you need it until you're comfortable with this vocabulary. And once you're comfortable with this vocabulary, then you can move on to the quadrilateral properties lesson, which will talk a lot about consecutive sides, opposite sides, diagonals, consecutive angles, and opposite angles. Have a great day.